Sunjin had accompanied Minsu to her pregnancy checkup. They sat together, waiting for the doctor. Sunjin glanced at his watch, prompting Minsu to ask if he had a meeting to attend. He held her hand and told her he had postponed some of his meetings because he didn't want to miss her first appointment. The doctor walked in, greeted them, and instructed Minsu to lie on the bed, which she did. Sunjin stood by her side, holding her hand, and watched as the doctor conducted an ultrasound scan. Looking at the screen, the doctor showed them the image of their small, developing baby. They both smiled, nearly in tears at the sight. Sunjin asked the doctor if everything was fine, and she nodded with a smile, assuring them that everything seemed perfectly normal. Sunjin looked at Minsu and told her he couldn't wait for them to hold their baby. Minsu smiled and said she couldn't wait either. Later that evening, Woobin and Yuna made their way into a small, shabby building where a boxing ring stood. Yuna looked around and asked if that was their date spot, wondering why he had chosen such a place. Woobin entered the boxing ring and explained that the place held a lot of memories for him. Growing up, whenever he felt suffocated, he would come there to box. It had been owned by a friend who taught him that the best way to relieve stress was through the adrenaline rush of fighting. He shared that he used to fight a lot, sometimes letting himself get beaten. Yuna, feeling sorry for him, went up to him and took his hand, expressing her sympathy. Woobin laughed and told her not to be sorry. The fighting had helped him, and now no one could defeat him. Yuna smiled, grateful that he trusted her enough to open up. She remarked that his friend sounded like a good person and hoped they were still friends. Woobin revealed that his friend had passed away and that he had bought the boxing place to help his friend's family. He said that he still came there whenever he felt down. Yuna moved closer and told him not to worry, promising to be there for him whenever he felt low. As she tried to hug him, Woobin stepped back and thanked her. Yuna noticed his avoidance and asked what was wrong, mentioning he had been acting distant, especially when she tried to get close. Woobin paused before explaining that it wasn't about her. His gunshot wound was still healing, and he was trying not to trigger any pain. He moved closer, touched her hair, and promised that once he healed, he would give her all the hugs in the world. Yuna smiled, relieved that she had misunderstood. She suggested they go eat together, and Woobin agreed. They later sat at a restaurant, and Woobin watched as Yuna ate. He silently hoped that one day his heart would fully open to her and that he would learn how to love her. He felt bad that he couldn't reciprocate her feelings at the moment. Yuna caught him staring and asked why he wasn't eating. He smiled and told her he was simply admiring how beautiful she was and felt lucky to call her his girlfriend. Meanwhile, Sunjin visited his father at their family home. They sat in the garden drinking beer. His father smiled, saying he was happy to spend time with him and that it had been a long time since they'd done so. He mentioned that Sunjin's late brother used to insist on spending time together even when he tried to resist. Sunjin recalled those moments, agreeing that even though his brother was hard-working, he never said no to a drink. They reminisced about the good times. Breaking the silence, his father said his late son would be proud of Sunjin and that he was happy to see him living the life he was meant to. He added that if he were to die, he would do so peacefully, knowing Sunjin would take over and succeed him. Sunjin laughed and reminded him that he was still young to be talking about death. Changing the topic, he expressed concern that his mother had not fully healed from his brother's death. His father agreed, saying no one ever fully heals from losing a loved one. Sunjin then shared that his mother had suggested naming their baby Taemin if it was a boy. He recalled how she had a mental breakdown after his brother's death and used to call every baby Taemin. He worried that naming their baby that might trigger her trauma. His father agreed to speak with her about it. Unbeknownst to them, Sunjin's mother had been listening. Hurt by the conversation, she ran back to the house. Sunjin, noticing her, quickly followed.